Welcome back to Keys to the PNW, the show where we unlock the stories, the people, and the hidden gems that make life in the upper left truly special. I'm your host, Donna Musin, and today's guest represents a legacy that truly helped put the Willamette Valley on the map. Now, if you've spent any time driving through the Dundee Hills, you know that iconic architecture and those sweeping vineyard views that just stop you in your tracks. But beyond the beauty, there's a deep rooted story of family and pioneering spirit. We're talking about one of the first families of Oregon wine, the ones who saw the potential in our soil way back in the 70s and they never looked back. From their commitment to being a certified B Corp to the way they've shaped the global reputation of our Pinot Noir, they're a massive part of what makes our local community so vibrant and world class. Joining me today to pull back the curtain on the magic happening at Sokol Blosser Winery is Sarah Telfer. Sarah is the Director of Consumer Sales at Sokol Blosser Winery and Evolution Wines. Sarah, I am so happy to have you on the show today. I'm looking forward to getting to know you and your story, and also to dive into the history of the winery and the sustainable heart it has and what's currently pouring. Welcome.
Well, thank you. That was quite the introduction, and it is, as always, yeah, so much history to be shared and stories, and I feel like my journey is, you know, kind of just begun, right, compared to how long the business has been around, and it's just truly an honor to be even part of the legacy and to continue to learn myself about all the history and stories, which is just fascinating.
I've known you only a short while now. And the more I get to know you, the more I really appreciate how you represent the winery. But we want to start though, because everybody in the Pacific Northwest, especially I would say in wine country, but even beyond that, has a how I got here story. What life was like before wine, what led you to the industry, all of that. So, what is your how I got here story?
Yeah, well, an amazing journey, and I'm not gonna lie, I wish that I had started in the wine industry decades ago. So it's a phenomenal industry, especially in the Pacific Northwest. Well, this will definitely give a little bit of my age, but my leadership started way back in the day, in the Blockbuster days, actually. So a very
Nice.
classic, store manager of a Blockbuster back in the day of iconic Pacific Northwest as well.
Like
So,
Blockbuster
um,
Video?
correct. Yeah, I know. My kids
That
don't even
is
have any idea of what that entails,
oh,
right? So,
man, the Friday nights, you hop in the car, you go
oh,
pick out movies with your friends, grab some
right.
candy up at the register, and then
Yeah,
head
it was
home and
amazing.
have a great time. I mean,
Yeah.
Blockbuster is an icon.
Yeah, I agree, and it's interesting when I even think back, about that, in its own way, it was its own hospitality, right? You're there talking to all the people that walk in the door about, what movies they like and what's coming out, and again, that connection and things. So, throughout my entire career in, leadership, upper management, all of that, I've always, gravitated towards connections. But, I did a lot of classic, how a lot of us go and work for a lot of different corporations, a lot of big
Mhm.
big retail boxes, felt, very much sometimes like a wheel, a cog in the wheel, just kinda going through the motions. I've definitely worked for some, I would say, some boys clubs,
Yeah.
so, which a lot of us have found ourselves in. I, worked for a long time in the gaming industry,
Oh, wow.
in
Okay.
in management and leadership there, and then kinda took a pivot in life, and I got into finance for a while. Love my math and my Excel sheets and some problem solving there and helping people, and really I was at a pivotal point in my life that I really wanted to find something with a lot more meaning, I think that we often find that at some point, and I was at the place, thankfully, within my, husband's career and things like that, that I could take kind of a step back and really look at what that kind of meant like for us. And I've always loved wine, since I could,
Mhm.
be a consumer of it. And we've been so blessed, in the Pacific Northwest. And it was just something that honestly initially felt uh, a little out of reach,
Mhm.
because I didn't have the background,
Yeah.
in wine. And so I think that sometimes that can, and from talking from other people in the industry too, that can sometimes be something that maybe sets us back a little bit from trying it sooner.
Yeah.
Right. And
Absolutely.
I, full circle, had the most amazing experience at Sokol Blosser. One of the very first wine tastings I've ever done in my life. I was in my early 20s, and I remember not every detail about it, but I remember they were my favorite one out of my whole
Mhm.
wine tour, and I remember how they made me feel, and that's so important to
Yeah.
me in general because I lead that way and I live my life that way of, people remember how you make them feel,
You know
and that
what?
that just resonated with me,
It's
you
funny you
know?
say that because every time, uh, I have been around you, I leave feeling better than when I started. So, and
Oh,
I'm not just
thank you.
saying my grandma taught
Yeah,
me, if you don't have anything good to say, you just zip it.
right, yeah.
So if I
Well,
say
thank
something like that, I
you.
really do mean it. So your energy and
Thank
your
you.
enthusiasm, it all just flows out of you. And,
Yeah,
I made a career change. What year is it now? 2026. In 2018. I quit my
okay.
job in a fiery fury. Never done that in my life, like, literally walked
Mhm,
out halfway through the day. It was wild, but I just got so fed up with being that cog in the wheel,
mhm,
and I don't know, it was like, if I don't just make this leap now, I probably won't, and I wasn't happy. I was
yeah,
miserable,
yeah,
and I was in corporate sales and media sales, and I changed directions, and now I'm in real estate.
yeah.
And I spent a lot of 2019, maybe even into 2020, visiting wineries midday and drinking with people
I love
midday
that.
on a Tuesday. And that's how I landed at Sokol Blosser. So it's funny how you mentioned your great experience. I
Yeah.
had the most wonderful time there, and the gal who poured my wine is still there pouring wine.
Oh, I love that. That is one thing that, again, I don't know every, winery's history, you know, but being in a lot of hospitality driven places, in retail and, entertainment and things like that, there's often so much turnover, right?
Yeah.
And I, as a consumer, um, I love those places that when you go in as a regular, whether you're a club member or not, or any of that, that like you can see some of the same familiar faces. And that to me, says something about oftentimes that company and that
Mhm.
leadership, right?
Yeah.
To be able to keep people in those hospitality driven industries is very challenging. Right.
Yeah.
And so I absolutely love that. And that's probably one of, especially for my managers and, myself and our, the entire, executive committee, is the amount of long tenured from all different walks of life at Sokol Blosser and um, different areas across the company. The amount of longevity there is incredible, and I'm a firm believer of, the longer a team works together, just the stronger we get,
Absolutely.
and so, I've only been blessed to work there for going on about 4 years, and I'm truly one of the newbies from that side of
Well,
things,
you wouldn't know
and
it.
so yeah, well, thank you. They just, I just I have so many fond memories of, and my journey, honestly, to be transparent, started in the tasting room. I was so burnt out on my career and, frankly, being a notorious workaholic,
Yeah, the
right? It just
grind.
the grind and the burnout that's real, and so I was like, I'm gonna work part-time in the tasting room. I love talking to people and I love connecting, and I did that for about the first year and a half until little areas started to pop up that had, some opportunity. And knowing that the company had such longevity, I really considered each one of those moves as like, there may not be another opportunity because
Yeah.
they don't come very often.
Yeah, it's like a
And
little hidden gem amongst
yeah,
everything when you
it
get faced with
was.
those opportunities.
Yeah, because it was definitely not my intention, but I just really was very invested in everything that the company was doing, and you truly do feel like part of the family. And I'm not just saying that. I remember countless tables that I would be, pouring for that would literally ask me, "Well, how are you related to the family?"
Mhm.
And I was, "Oh, I'm not." And I guess just my energy and, how I was so passionate about the stories and invested in the company. And I think that there's a lot of people on our sales floor that people question that about, and I think that's just
Mhm.
magical. And you'd be surprised because some of them are family too, but, you just gotta figure that one out.
But not all of
So,
them.
not all of them, no, but in general, we're all part of the Sokol Blosser family, and we extend that to every guest. I think that's our biggest thing too is, every company, every brand has to find their voice and who they are. And, ours is that balance of heritage and innovation, but really just making people feel like they're part of it,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
They're part of what we're doing.
and they do that at Sokol Blosser, and let me
They
tell you,
do.
I spent an entire year on weekdays going to all the wineries. I was
Yeah.
a member of, 9 wineries at one point because I
Mhm.
don't know, it just made sense.
It I think my husband and I in our height, we're about that, between 8 and 10, definitely, 'cause there's so many, and
And they're all so
they're all
unique.
amazing.
I
Yeah,
know, right?
yeah.
I have, like,
It's incredible.
250 bottles right now in my house,
Mhm.
like and I
Yes.
don't drink by myself, and I
Right.
live
Yeah.
by myself,
You're like, "I
so
need more
it's
parties. I need
yeah.
more."
So, I bring the wine wherever I go. I always bring the
Yes.
wine, and I
I
have a
love that.
class system, like, who am I meeting with, and which wine will I bring? I have some really
100%.
top shelf wines, and then I have the
Yes.
mid-range.
Exactly. We have to have that variety because that's,
Yeah,
that's our friend, that's people in general, and I think that's the best thing about wine is, it's really, it's the lifestyle, right?
yeah,
It's part of food and socialization and storytelling, and there's so much history, and we all can agree that, you know, wine always tastes better with who you're sharing it with and
yes,
what you're doing. And, we've all had those amazing bottles of wine, and maybe we've tried it at a later point in our lives and it didn't ring all the same bells, but
yeah,
it just, is missing that connection. I think that, being able to be part of people's stories and people's, special moments is incredibly validating in what we do.
absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
and so much heart goes into winemaking, which
Mhm.
kinda wraps me to because I know you love to tell the story about Sokol Blosser too. They started back in 1971. Bill and Susan, right?
Right.
I've read that they were, and this is what the article that I read said, they were a bit wild for planting grapes in the Dundee Hills. Um, can you talk at all about that vision they had and how that kind of pioneer spirit, because I mean, it stayed alive and it's still alive in the family today. That there's a OPB special about the pioneers of the Oregon wine
Mhm.
country. It was a whole new idea out here. So tell the
Yeah,
story.
I mean, to be fair, I'll never do, Bill and Susan
Yeah.
justice by telling their story, because what an incredible,
Yeah.
if you ever get FaceTime with these, any of the family, what amazing just humans in general.
Yeah.
And, to have the forefront and the innovation and taking the risk,
Mhm.
right, of doing something so different. And really, they'll joke, I definitely wasn't there at the time, about, getting lucky, right? Because so much of the magic of what comes out of these hills and these vineyards is the dirt,
Yeah.
right? And it's so sometimes underrated by how different that is here than other places, right? We
Yeah.
can't take what we're doing here and port it to another state, right?
Right.
And hope for the
Right.
best. It just wouldn't do. And you're talking all of it. I mean, clearly I don't have the winemaking background, but the dirt and the direction in which you plant the grapes, and there's so much
Mhm.
science into it, and a fine amount of luck too, right? Because
Yeah.
it's also farming, right? You're
Yep.
just every
You're
year
at the
you're like,
mercy of
"Oh,
Mother
what's gonna
Nature.
happen?" And what can we do within what it's giving us? But I think that's why it's so special too, is because every year is different. I'm
Yeah.
like, if you find a bottle of wine and you love that year, oh, buy multiple bottles,
Yeah.
because as much as it can have a lot of the similar things year over year, it will change, which is also magical. But the fact that Susan and Bill they were they loved learning, right?
Yeah.
I mean, massive readers, still are, right? They're
Yep.
still learning and evolving, and they just started that innovation spirit that fueled this area, and a lot of collaboration, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I hear, a lot of the story is what I've heard and been told from them, was how much those original, 5, 6 families and couples got together.
Yeah.
They got together and they talked about trials and tribulations and the struggles and what was working, and it was a lot of trial and error,
Mhm.
the things that they attempted to plant, and where they planted them, right,
Mhm.
has all changed. Like we plant, Pinot now at the highest elevation versus,
Mhm.
the whites at the lowest. And that's not always, what happens when you first start something like that. You just have to continue to evolve and learn. And I think everything we do in business often, they talk about that classic, or there are no failures, right? They're just
Yeah.
lessons. And I think that they were very good about learning everything that they could and then pivoting from there, but continuing into the second generation. And we're continuing to the third generation of just, like internally, the Sokol Blosser's core values. We have four main core values, and right there prominently is innovation, which I think is so incredible for something that has so much history and heritage.
Yeah.
To be able to still balance those 2 together is something will always continue to be very important for us, right? Is to continue the heritage and the what way started, but always leave room for that
Well, it's
innovation.
exciting that they I mean, they risked a lot by
Mhm.
jumping into a pool that looked like
Yeah.
it only had an inch of water in it, right?
Right.
These few
Yeah.
families, it was quite a leap.
Yeah.
I am so glad they did, and, they are the
Same.
foundation of what we see now when we drive through the Willamette Valley, and even further south and out to the
Mhm.
east, up into Washington. Like, if it weren't for them, Bill and Susan, being a part of this core group that said, "Let's do this,"
Yeah.
I mean, we would not have the Willamette Valley that we have,
Yeah.
and that's the thing that I couldn't even imagine the Willamette Valley without that.
Same. And I mean, even how it continues, right? I mean, I remember, just the amount of new ones, and how many people wanna be a part of it.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, if you ever do get time with, Bill and Susan, they're also 2 of some of the entire family of humbling people you'll ever meet, which again is just talks about their grace and who they are. And they just love to share stories and things. And it's incredible that to think that it wouldn't be here,
Right?
and that's such a special thing to be a part of witnessing that, and to still be around when those people are still around, like
Yeah.
to be able to meet them and be able to hear firsthand how those things started, what worked, what didn't.
Well, and how exciting is it that the family is continuing?
Oh,
Like, because not all family businesses, when they do end, it's because the family doesn't wanna continue. I'm
right.
excited that the family is all in on this and wanting to continue that legacy.
Yeah, a lot of wineries are family
Mhm.
owned and operated, but I think that there's something special. like a little extra special about being, founded and still,
Yes.
family operated, right?
Mhm.
Because I love that a lot of families come in and do these businesses together because it's not for the faint of heart, that is for sure. But to be able to be not only a founder, but for it to transpire into other generations is again a challenge. And they've all worn different hats,
Mhm.
within the second generation. And you know um Allison, led the company for a very long time, and Alex, was in winemaking and then kind of took over as president. And Nick's always been involved in well. And now I get the honor of working with the third generation,
Mhm.
and they're what an amazing group they are too, and they range in age. The oldest are in their mid 20s now, and so you'll find them. They worked, two of them worked in the tasting room last summer when they were
Oh,
home
okay.
from college and stuff. And so it's really neat. But I think something that you often see too with the families, they do encourage each generation to do other things too,
Mhm.
right? It's not a this is your life. It's
Yeah.
a, we want you to be a part of it if you want to be a part of it,
Yeah. They
which
give them the
which
agency to decide.
absolutely, and I think that that's important, to experience life and do things. And because if you're not in it, it's
Yeah.
gonna show, right?
Well, and it's so much sweeter
It's
when you choose something.
yes.
You know,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
whether it's the change from corporate world into this, like it's
Mhm.
just so much more fulfilling when you get a choice versus having something thrust upon you
Oh,
that you just feel obligated to do.
100%. You speak to my I call it the one of my leadership tactics I use is the coalition of the willing, so I'm a
Yeah.
big proponent of, when massive or not even massive changes, but when change is coming or new things or ideas, I very hesitant to ever place that upon people,
Mhm.
versus bring them along with you,
Yeah.
because people like things done with them, not
Mhm.
to them. So,
Exactly.
we encourage that even, in the tasting room when we're thinking about new ideas or adding on things, we will bring in the team and say, "Hey, like, what do you think about this or what do you think about that?" And it shows, right? Because
Mhm.
they're more in it. They're part of what we're doing, and they feel that connection of and that ownership, right? It's not just, oh, this is something, I need to do because it's part of my job. It's like, oh, I was part of this vision
Mhm.
and I see it and I'm excited for it. And
There is a
we
lot of
find that that's
pride to be had
yeah,
in being a part of the vision and then seeing it come to
absolutely.
fruition, which
Mhm.
then gives people that those added roots. Doesn't matter what kind of a job they have, when they're part of that vision and they see it come to be, they feel
Yes.
like a part of it. So you're going to just naturally the whole leadership thing, right? You're naturally gonna
Mhm.
get the best of them when
Yes.
that's the case. So that is, absolutely
Yeah.
amazing, and that would also explain why you keep staff so well.
Well, I can't be the sole I mean, my
No,
team is,
it
the
sounds like
the
it's
the
kind of a
managers
ground
I
up.
have are oh, they're incredible,
Yeah,
and again, even I mean, you've met Kristen in the tasting
yep,
room and, Aaron and Lauren and, I mean, I could name our entire team, right? So, I mean, everyone
yeah.
knows these humans and, we're a small but mighty team.
They're
No
amazing.
no single one of us from whatever role you hold wears a singular hat. I
Yeah.
mean, we all wear at least 18, and I think that
I've
the
watched it in action.
the adaptability, is again another, important thing for us and the perseverance that has to happen, but you can tell that, they're in it,
Yeah.
and they're all in the shared vision. And I just there are plenty of, jobs and careers I think that you can kinda mask and,
Mhm.
kind of put one foot in front of the other, but hospitality is not it, you
Yeah.
know? It
You
is
know when
it is
it's
very
not in the
hard
heart.
it is very, very hard to, hide the fact if you're not enjoying your job, and so, we work really hard to harness that and make sure that, people wanna be there, and then we
Yeah.
provide, uh, a culture that people wanna be there, and part of that is, Oregon's very blessed in general to have a lot of B Corps, but that's really important to us, you
You
know?
were reading
Yeah.
my mind. My next question was
Yeah.
the next thing I was gonna
Yeah.
bring up was, it's you're investing in the people, you're investing, like, taking those chances. But Sokol Blosser was a B Corp before it was trendy. And for
Yes.
those who are listening that don't know what a B Corp is, it's a for-profit business that's been verified uh, by B Lab to meet these high standards of social and environmental performance, accountability, transparency. I think most people, there's a whole heap of people that don't know what a B Corp is and
Yeah.
why it's such a good thing when you hear that some organization is a B Corp, right? So I'll let you
Yeah.
talk more on that.
No, I mean, I agree. There's some, I think when the people that know what a B Corp is, they oftentimes, including myself, look for that, right? It's kind of that
Mhm,
extra little thing, but I think that there is still a lot of room for growth in what, B Corp truly is
mhm,
and doing, but it holds you accountable, and I think most of those companies, I mean, all of them, like, we want to be, right? We wanna
yeah,
be accountable to our team and to the environment and to the people, and you'll find that these companies all share very core values
mhm,
together, and the people that work there often, share those same, core values, and I mean, I can, only speak for my own journey here, but I have to say that if my journey ever, had to move on from this, I don't know that I'd wanna work for a company that didn't have that special
right?
little bee in there because it really tells you something about, you know, just their initial,
Yeah.
what they are, and then they all have their own things that matter to them within that too, but, you gotta
Well,
it very much
that aim
you
to
gotta walk the walk.
balance yeah, that
Yeah.
aim to balance the profit kind of with purpose,
Mhm.
focusing on the impact to workers, to the customers, to the
Yep.
community as a whole, and the environment rather than just being beholden to shareholders. That's why I am not
Exactly.
gonna slam corporate wine. Like, there's a place for everything, right? But there
Yes.
is something truly special about the non-corporate wine that can position themselves like this and care about being a business that's a force of good and for good, like embedding sustainability and social impact
Mhm.
into their core operations. I mean, these are really important things when we look at, what do we want our lovely Oregon, our Willamette Valley to be in 50 years? I'll be long gone. I mean, unless I live to be 120, but
Right.
I mean, who
Right.
knows? Some of my grandparents lived to 100, so
Yes.
and I'll still be coming out for wine. But
Exactly.
what do we want this to be for future generations? And this kind of just embodies
It really
what I'd love
does,
to see
and
every business do I mean, if they could, I think they can, but I don't think enough know truly how.
I think there's a compounding factor,
Yeah.
right? Does it align with their core values,
Mhm.
right? Because you will not put yourself through the rigorous,
Yeah.
process if you're not committed. I have
I've
to
read a
give,
bit about the process and
huge
I'm like,
shout
oh,
out to, our, operations and CFO and incredible duo that spend months grinding every time,
well, and there's
recertification comes
legal
up. It's
accountability to it as
very
well.
much
Like, this
so.
isn't just
Yes.
you're being governed to
Yes.
have this certification or whatever it
Right. It's
is.
not
There's
a,
there's a
fill out
legal
this.
aspect to it as well.
Yeah, it's not a, just fill out this little paperwork and submit it.
Yeah.
No, no.
Pay
It's
your
it's
fee and
yeah,
slap it
it's
on the
thrilling,
window.
and they'll continue to, hold us accountable, and, as any organization, I'm sure things will pivot and change, and we
Mhm.
will make those decisions, and we're willing to, change and look at our own business culture to ensure that we're continuing to abide by the sustainability and being just the best that we can within what
Yeah.
we can do, from our people to the planet, and, it just really reigns true with
Yeah.
with everyone that you meet here, and we find so many. We're again in Oregon. We partnered with so many amazing other B Corps and from
Yeah.
all different industries. I
Mhm.
think that's really cool too. Now, I I don't know the exact numbers, but I believe when I looked up a while ago, Oregon does have, I think, the largest amount of B Corp wineries. So that
I
is pretty
tell you,
great. You
we're a
know
pretty great
that.
place to
Yeah,
live.
it's a pretty great place, and again, the people that that know and that matters to them, they'll
Mhm.
seek that out,
Yeah,
but more than anything, it matters to us, and it's
yeah.
important to us, and it hopefully says something, about, if you see that bottle somewhere in
Mhm.
another state on the shelf and you know what that means, it might just, help start the story, you know?
Absolutely. Well, and you
Yeah.
have the first LEED certified winery building in the US, I
The
read.
silver,
Now,
yeah,
is that
yeah.
right? Okay,
Yeah, I think
because
it's,
the internet, sometimes it lies to
yeah,
us.
the internet, I know, same thing, I have to fact check certain things too, and, I believe it's the first silver certified, so
Silver
I don't.
certified.
Yeah, so I believe
Okay.
there's different levels, don't
Sure.
quote me on what those are, but yeah, again, something that the family, right,
Yeah.
ahead of time, innovation, so, not only were we one of the first B Corp, but yeah, the cellar, and anyone out there, if you've never seen the cellar, let your tasting room associate know, it's very cool,
I haven't seen your
but
cellar.
you haven't seen the cellar. Okay,
No.
you'll have
I'll
to
have
come
to do
out,
that next
but
time.
yeah, the ability to regulate the energy in there and be good for the environment, helps reduce all of that. It's really quite great. So,
Well,
and it's
yeah.
beautiful.
And you
So,
also have bee and bluebird projects, right?
we do. Yeah,
Yeah.
important, I always joke about, we have these if you drive up the driveway and you'll see these little bluebird boxes,
Mhm.
on the little on the poles, and you'll see some outside the tasting room, and they come back, every season, and, growing up being a Disney child, I
Yeah.
was like, "Wow, but these bluebirds don't, do my laundry like they
I
did
know.
in
Darn
Cinderella
it.
and things," So, they're so beautiful,
It's
but
all
they're
right.
they're not as helpful as
They're not
no, they're
sewing me a
just
dress.
gorgeous. Yeah, and the bee project, I mean,
Yeah.
again, I'm continuing to learn as being part of this company, I didn't realize how many species of bees
I
were out
know. I've
there.
read that you had
Oh goodness.
68
I
species of
think that's what we're
bees.
up to. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Susan has a big part in that. Sarah Miller is involved in the bee project. So, very cool. They have a lot of knowledge about that. Susan, beekeeper. So we get this. If you ever had Chef Jesus's fantastic truffle cheesecake, he did this late harvest honey on top. That was from
I had
Susan.
that and it
Uh,
was
r-
so good.
Amazing,
So good.
right? Well,
Yeah.
like
I
get
think
out of
there's a
here with
picture
that.
of
Like,
it on my social
oh,
media somewhere. I'll have to
just
post it with this.
again, I just love full circle, right?
Mhm.
Like what's coming out of the culinary is we have a garden on property that this it's not necessarily a show garden, right? It's a very usable
It's a
garden, and
functioning
they're
garden.
it's a functioning garden, right? Someday it may be a show garden. That's a goal there. But the things that Jesus and Sarah are getting off of that garden, and you got to think ahead of time for that,
Yeah.
and again, we're very transparent. If you ever get to peek in the kitchen, you'll see all these phenomenal, just dried ingredients everywhere, and all this amazing stuff he's gotten from the garden. And so, anytime you're at the estate, from trying the pizza to dessert or something on the menu, 9 times out of 10, a lot of stuff in there is from what we're getting off the property, which is again important to, what we do. It's connecting our guests to the land and
Yeah.
to, our stories, and to, you know, what's important and what's good for everything. And it's magical. I mean, he's a phenomenal chef to begin with. He can make anything taste delicious, but knowing it comes from the land
Yeah.
is
And I
important.
tell you
So,
what, even if you don't drink wine, first of all, they have non-alcoholic options, but even if you don't want that, go have their pizza when they have it available because it is so dang good. It
oh,
really is good. And I'm not even a true
yes.
pizza person. Like
Mhm.
desert island food would not be pizza for me. It would be for a lot of people, but nah, I could live without it if I never had it again.
Right.
Except your guys' pizza. It's
We
really
have
good.
started this amazing following, and it's incredible, and I agree, I mean, I don't always eat the most pizza, but man, that pizza kitchen opens up and we're all just like
The
ready
flavor
for it.
combinations and how
Mhm.
fresh it is.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I mean, again,
it's
the team makes,
yeah,
they did, we did so much R&D, on the dough and making sure the quality and the ingredients and, all the things, it tastes great when it's fresh, but it also tastes great, if it's sitting there for a few hours, while you're drinking your wine,
exactly.
all of those things that we think about for the entire experience.
Yeah,
We put a lot of time and energy into those things. And same when we change flavors and things, it's a team collaboration. It's, what are guests wanting, what's fresh out there, what's in the Pacific Northwest, right? What can we, partner with other, companies for if it's not something we can get off our land. We
yeah,
source from a lot of local companies. And
you do.
yeah, I mean, last summer
Yeah,
we went, the first couple of years we had pizza, we only did it, 3.5 or so days a week. And last year we flipped that to 7 days. And I don't think we can ever go back. So
that
it's
fire kept a burning.
that yeah, that's right. Yeah, the team was, and if you ever are out there on a hot day, just man, go out there and say hi to those guys because it is definitely a little toasty out there, and we try to keep them as cool as we can, but they're dedicated to their passion out there. So
It's
it's
amazing.
a
Well,
labor
and
of love.
the tasting room architecture is so beautiful, and I know that's
Yeah.
relatively new. Relatively, it's been a few years
Hmm.
now. I mean, it was there when I was going around having my winery tour days when I
Yes.
was
Yeah.
jobless, but, it's really beautiful. The roof
Hmm.
has all kinds of little things growing on it.
The live
Yeah,
roof. Yeah, it's really interesting if you ever are, up above our estate at another, vineyard. It kind of looks like a little hobbit house up there, right?
it
With all the
does.
live things and it's just incredible. But yeah, and the night and day difference between the two tasting rooms, I
Yeah.
think again just showcases the versatility and the
Mhm.
variety in again honoring that heritage with the original tasting room, right? Which I did fact check when I started working there. I was like, is that truly the original tasting room in the state of Oregon? And it truly is. So opened in 1978 is that
Wow.
John Stores building
Yeah.
still on property. If it's not the one you're tasting in when you're there, we're always more than happy to take people over there to see it. And you know s- specifically this beautiful window that features Mount Hood and the beautiful scenery there, and worked really hard to maintain that and keep it kind of at its roots. And then we do joke, quote unquote, the new tasting room.
Mhm.
I believe it was 2015 that it opened. So it's been
Okay.
around for a while,
Yeah.
but it's still our new tasting
It
room.
looks
So
like it's brand new
yeah,
shiny.
it's gorgeous. I mean, we have people stop by purely to see the architecture, and why wouldn't you? Right?
Yeah.
Again, stop by, eat a pizza. Even if you're not there for the wine, that's
Yeah.
okay. We've got
But you
plenty of other
really should go
things
for
to
the
do. You
wine.
really should try the wine.
Unless
It
there's a
is
reason you
amazing.
can't,
That's
the
right.
wine is
Exactly.
spectacular.
Even take it to go, gift it out, whatever you
Yep.
need to do.
The wine
But
is
yeah, the
absolutely amazing. I've not
the
had a bad
architecture is
wine
gorgeous. Thank you.
from
Yeah.
Sokol
I
Blosser,
I
and I have had, wines that I haven't enjoyed at
yeah,
a lot of places,
yeah.
most notably in on Maui. I don't recommend drinking wine that was made with pineapples. The
Fair
view
enough.
from the tasting room was gorgeous. The
Amazing.
wine, yeah,
There are a lot of
but
other
the
states.
innovation, go for
Yeah, exactly. They're trying,
they're
right? And
trying.
there is I think the one of the cool things about wine too is it's I always talk about it's like art. It's subjective,
Yes.
right? There's always something for everyone. And so we're never, offended if a certain wine isn't for you because
Yeah.
I guarantee we're probably going to find something.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember working the tasting room. I was challenge accepted. Tell me what you love and I'm going to find you something, and it's going to be a journey. We're going to have a great time and we're going to tell some stories and it's going to be phenomenal. But yeah, and I think that's again the great thing about wine and Oregon wine too is going out and exploring, and seeing what there is to offer and how different and all the different innovative things people do.
Yeah.
Is great. So
One of my
yeah.
favorite things to do is to take, folks to, there's several wineries that I really enjoys, and yours is included in that don't like Chardonnay because they think of the kind of historically really kind of heavy,
Mhm.
buttery, they always say it's buttery, I only like butter on my
Yep.
toast, but Chardonnays, and I had never liked Chardonnay until I started my winery tour and realized that a lot of Oregon wineries and winemakers do their Chardonnays a little bit different than the old traditional Chardonnays.
Correct.
I love introducing Alicia, CEO of the
Mhm.
chamber, was an
Yep.
anti-Chardonnay girl. Like, "No, no, no, no," and I'm like, "No, no, no, no,
Yeah.
seriously. These a lot of these wineries are they're in steel, they're in concrete.
Yep.
They're
Mhm.
not sitting in oak the whole time. They might finish them in oak, but they're not just
Yep.
sitting in there absorbing all that, whatever it is that oak does to a Chardonnay.
Ah.
Give them a try." And, she is always like, "What? How is this a Chardonnay?" Because,
Yeah, it really flipped the script, I
yeah,
think, for Chardonnay, right? And and again, like anything, there's a place for that, right?
absolutely, and a lot of people
There
really
are
love it.
people that absolutely love it, but
Yeah,
the people that don't, a lot of Oregon wineries have what they don't, why they don't like it, right? Oftentimes people
yeah,
are, it's too buttery, it's too oaky, it's just not what I want. It feels,
yeah.
thick, right?
Thick on the tongue, yeah.
And then yeah, exactly. And then you get into a lot of these Oregon and, it's got that beautiful kind of pop and acidity, and it still gets all of that complexity
Yeah.
out of aging it and getting it in the concrete and all of that. It still has all of that gorgeous, flavor there of a Chardonnay,
Mhm.
but it's not what people expect, and
Yeah.
I remember, we as a team, we run across this, I mean, all the time, especially
Mhm.
from visitors and, a lot of your club members kind of know by now, what it tastes like, but they just have a pre-conditioned what they think it's going to
Yeah.
taste like. And so I'm a big proponent in my own life, and I encourage my children, and I encourage other people. I always talk about, well, it started with food, really, with my children, where we started
Yeah.
with thank you bites, right? Just try a bite, right?
Yeah.
And so
You
I
never
kind
know.
of instilled that at the winery, like just try a thank you taste, like just
Yeah.
take a little taste. If you don't like it, no big deal, right? That's
Yeah.
totally
No
fine.
harm,
It's
no foul.
not everything is for everyone. And it was
Mm-mm.
really funny as I started to kind of do that when I was running tables, how many people were like, oh, that's not bad, and I think you just kind of like take away that, like, I think people feel bad that they have to say they don't like something, or, they just don't know how they're going to react. And you just take away that, like, any stipulation, like, even
Yeah.
if you say this is still the worst thing I ever had, no worries,
Yeah.
like that's fine.
You're not
But
insulting their
so
baby,
many,
even though
yeah,
they
exactly.
each wine is their baby,
Yeah.
but it's different.
Exactly.
It's
It's
okay.
it's so different, and so, yeah, so many people would try and they're like, "Oh," and then I think that's what's great too is, when people are wine tasting out in Oregon, now that they've tried one Chardonnay, maybe they'll try somebody else's Chardonnay too,
Yeah.
right? And so it
Mhm.
really starts that, and I feel like, a Riesling kind of follows in that same line,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of, those are probably the 2 wine
Very
varietals that we might get the
polarizing.
most. Yeah, exactly, where it's people already have a very strong opinion coming in about that,
Yes.
and, and again, I think, oftentimes people associate Riesling with being very sweet,
Mhm.
and a lot of Oregon producers can do, from sweet to very dry, and I
Yeah.
think that changes the concept for a lot of people too, and so I think that that's something neat that Oregon has done is, you know, taken their own take on some of
Mhm.
these varietals and worked within what works for us, and being a little innovative with it, and then starting these different trends. And it's really, you know, Oregon wine country is known for Pinot, right? I mean, even
Yeah.
our tagline is "We know Pinot," right? But now we have so many, white
Oh,
varietals, and the white wine is one of the increasing markets out there. And so, thankfully, we started that a while ago because it's the long game, right? When you plant those
it
grapes, you're
is.
thinking 5, 6, 7 years ahead of time. So, I love to see some of the different things coming out of the valley. Is pretty cool.
Well, and that innovation started way back in
Mm,
1971.
crazy,
Also, when you're
right?
competing with the big dogs, right? California's been wine country forever, right? Oregon was new to it. How do you carve yourself your own path, right? How do you blaze your trail so that, yes, you're a wine, but we're going to do it our way? And Oregon is very much, we're going to do it our way. Like from everything from the
Yep.
Portland metro area on down to Southern Oregon, Oregon likes to do things their own way, and some people
Yep.
love it, some people hate it, but for the wine country, it's amazing because we have some of the most world-class wines out
Mhm.
there. Like, I just read an article and I didn't read the whole article. I mostly read the headline and a couple of, paragraphs before I got completely distracted to something else. But, apparently, there's an Oregon wine that beat a French wine recently, and, like,
Yeah, that
what?
just happened. Yeah,
So
in some
France will
blind
not like us if
tasting.
we say we're from
Y
Oregon maybe, but
Right? Yeah, yeah, we've been making some notable,
Mhm.
there's just been some phenomenal scores continue to come out of Oregon, and we just continue to do what we do and put ourselves out there, and, I think, I can't speak to other, wine regions, but
Yeah,
what I can speak to is that in Oregon, and I can see from being in this, is we are a very collaborative group,
yeah.
right? We're very much rising tides. We're in this together. We've got an idea. Let's call our neighbors. Let's do things together. And not a lot of industries do
Yeah.
that
No,
with their quote
I'm in an
unquote
industry that is
competitors. You know,
historically
it, yeah,
non-collaborative.
exactly. And I've come from some of those too, and so I think that I mean, I personally love that. I mean, we bring small producers that don't have tasting rooms to come out to our club parties and pour wine for club members, and we bring out, I mean, you recently had, you know, um the amazing, ladies from Urban River Spirits on
Mhm.
your podcast, and got connected through the Beaverton Chamber with them, and we carry their product. We do a
Mhm.
non-alcoholic with them, and I think Oregon in general and in the wine industry are just we're very, collaborative. Like,
Yeah.
how do we do this together? How do we do what we all do and have our own individual voice, but be something together,
Well, and
and I think that resonates.
it is like that, and it's not just Sokol Blosser that's collaborative. I was at a
Mhm.
winery, one of my clubs when I was with them, and I've gotten to know them very well. One of their I don't even know what it's called. They pour the grapes into it and they get moved around, at harvest. That big
Mhm.
giant thing went down. Like their machine went
Oh.
down and right in the middle of everything. And so they got on the phone, another winery down the way said, "Hey,
Mhm.
we've got an extra. We'll, you know, bring your grapes
Send
here
it
or
your
we'll
way.
bring that there. We'll figure it out. We'll help you." They did. And they
Yeah.
got everything processed and harvested and processed. So, that collaboration, they're working as if it's not competition because
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess it is like wines and wines. They are competition, sort of. But
Yeah.
as my grandpa would say, there is a seat for every butt.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
and that's probably not the fanciest way to say it, but there's enough cheese for everybody out there, right?
I agree.
And by being collaborative, you're raising everybody, right? By doing that, you're
Yeah.
because nobody stays at the top by stepping on others. They don't. They'll
Exactly.
be at the top maybe
Exactly.
for a bit, but eventually that catches up, whether you believe in karma or just you reap what you sow. It eventually you're knocked off and nobody cares
Yeah.
that you fell and crumbled. So when
Exactly.
you are collaborative and you approach things the way that our wine industry here in Oregon does, I think it makes the wine industry in Oregon stronger overall.
Yeah,
And
I
we get the
agree,
benefit
and
of that as consumers.
yes, exactly. All of our loyal people, and yeah, all the people in the Pacific Northwest, and even you'll see a lot of a big part of our last year and a half or so is even branching out beyond the tasting room and going kind of back to the roots of the family and getting out there and meeting people where they're at. Right. I mean, that's
Yeah.
Alex Sokol talks so much about his younger years and going to all of these different events with his parents, and being at these festivals and different pouring events,
Mhm.
and talking to all of these people, and we really kind of reinvigorate that in the last year and a half, and
Well, and
it's
you've
just
got
been
that
really
fun
amazing.
bougie trailer that you bring around.
We love that.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, and that's just been so well received, and it's just enough, it's a way for us to get out there and bring the wine to different places that people may not, be able to get out there, or it's just, in different areas, and it's making it we're approachable and we're not pretentious, and really just showing that Oregon wine is different, and that you can be a wine connoisseur and love it, and you can be I've never had wine before and you will be pleasantly surprised. And we just the special thing about that is that the team that is often in that trailer are people that have worked and work at the tasting room too, right? So we're literally porting stories and history and things
Yeah.
out there and connecting with people out there. And I think I've personally worked in the trailer with the team. There's something so special about how many people already have a story, and they come up and tell us their story, whether it's meeting Susan somewhere, or having a
Yeah.
dinner with somebody, or meeting Alex, or being at the winery, or they got married there, or just all of
Yeah.
these. Just the place holds so many people's special moments,
Yeah.
and so it's just really magical. And then to be able to go out and create new ones, right? To be like, "Wow, I've never had, X wine before, and then I met this amazing team at this super cool event, and now I'm a fan. Now I'm gonna
Yep.
go visit. Now I'm gonna go try their pizza," right? So,
Yeah.
I think it's
Well, and
it's
you have
twofold,
more
and
than
it
just the
it's
one
really
label.
cool.
Like Sokol Blosser, you have the
Mhm,
label that's Sokol
mhm.
Blosser, but you also have Evolution.
Correct. Yeah. Again, don't quote me. 1998, I believe, was when Evolution started, and we just, one we could get out into distribution more, right? The
Mhm.
estate only makes so much wine, and
Yeah.
getting it enough out there and producing enough. And so having the same amazing winemaking team, and getting it out to more people. And it's a lower price point. So it's a more approachable for a lot of people to kind of start. I mean, there are so many people that say, I started drinking Evolution forever ago, and
Mhm.
now I drink Sokol Blosser, but I still have Evolution as my Tuesday wine. I'm like, yeah, me too sometimes. It's pretty great,
Absolutely.
and I have a lot of friends that enjoy it, and I do too. And so it's really neat to be able to have those brands, and they have kind of their own identity, but they're together, and they reach the same people, and a little bit different sometimes, and created it to be shared with, again, food and barbecues and pizzas. And
Yep.
there's such great food pairing wines. Again, is I'm just a big proponent of wine is a lifestyle.
Mhm.
It's more than just a consumable product. It's bringing it into your social interactions and sharing memories with people. So,
Absolutely. So,
yeah.
when you talk about people, our world is increasingly digital, right? So many people, all you do is you see them looking down at screens, right? That is just the way the world
Yeah.
is. Why
Yes.
is the in person wine experience, whether it's at a festival, a private home tasting, still the most powerful way to tell the story?
You know, for me, I think that as much as the world has transitioned to head down in our phones, all of that, nothing is going to ever replace human connection. We all need it. And whether we think we do or not, whether you're the most
Yeah.
introverted human or extroverted, or no matter what walk of life, like, I mean, who hasn't been somewhere, and a random stranger has just complimented you, right?
Yeah.
That sometimes is the most powerful thing that can happen in your entire day, right?
Hmm.
That human
Absolutely.
connection, no, nothing can replace that. As much as people may feel like they need it less, and they go after it less, that's fine. But it's still going to be our strongest propeller. Is our people are our strongest asset that we have in this
Yeah.
entire company. Like, don't get me
Hmm.
wrong, the wine is phenomenal, but it's our
Yeah.
people, and we couldn't do it
But how
without
would
them.
we enjoy
And
it without the people that make it happen?
exactly,
And that
exactly.
tell the
And so
story
I
as they're
just
pouring, all of it. Like
yes, yes,
community and
exactly.
that human connection is a superpower that I think
Yeah.
I every generation I think thinks the generation ahead is like, "Oh, we're doomed." I think as everything does, it evolves, but
Yeah.
really driving home that connection and that in-person experience really does I don't know, that human connection can cure a lot of ills, whether it's the stress in the world right now, whether it is the stress at your job, whether it's you're lonely, like just community makes everything
Mhm.
stronger. And
I agree. I agree. And, I
you
think
guys are
that
a
the
part of keeping
younger
community.
thank you. Thank you. And, I think, like you said, everyone kind of, thinks about the generation behind them and before them and all of that. And I think the thing that we really see and I truly appreciate about a lot of the younger generation is how much authenticity means to them.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah,
don't think that they're necessarily connecting less. I think that they really um they want transparency and they want
yeah,
honesty and they want and it's perfectly fine for them to judge a company or to decide where they spend their money on
yeah.
places like that. And that's okay.
I
And I think
absolutely
that we see
agree.
more of that than the normal in Oregon, which I'm a big proponent of. And so I truly think that that's one of the best assets of the younger generation is they're
They
just
don't
expecting
trust
more.
blindly.
Exactly,
I'm a Gen Xer.
exactly.
We just
They've got
trusted whatever. I mean, we
they
get
have
in
the
cars
internet.
with
They
people
can
we
fact
didn't
check.
know. Yeah,
Exactly, exactly, yeah. They will fact check you, right? And they
yeah.
expect that transparency, and I think that that's
You've
okay.
got
We
to toe
just,
the
we're
line.
learning that about them. Yeah,
They're
exactly.
not falling for it. We believed our
That's
parents.
right, yeah.
They don't.
Yeah, they're like, "No,
And
no,
it all
show me the
serves
facts," you know?
it makes the whole world go around. I love
I
the
agree.
kind of freshness and the ingenuity that I see in a lot of the younger generations.
Yeah.
I am not one of those people that's like, those young people now. I'm never they're just
Right.
different. Somebody
Yeah.
probably said those things about
Yeah.
me at one point. Like,
Every
and look, I've made it.
100%. Same.
I'm still alive. I'm
Exactly.
still like paying my bills.
Yeah,
It's okay. It's gonna
exactly.
work out. Like, don't take it so seriously, people. Go have
Mhm.
some wine at Sokol
Agreed.
Blosser.
Yeah, exactly. Get some food,
Sokol
don't be
Blosser is just
hangry.
such a legacy that I'm excited that I've had the opportunity to experience it, and I am a big fan.
Thank
Obviously, I
you.
have people on my show that I'm a big fan of, so I'm really not one of those people that's going to have a podcast with people I don't enjoy. So,
Yeah,
but I truly feel good recommending Sokol Blosser. I
thank you.
don't ever recommend something I don't myself believe in 100%. And you guys have walked the walk. And that's why I want to share with people a little bit of that story and maybe just wet their whistle a little bit.
Yeah.
And pardon the pun on that, but it's enough to want to come out. And again, even
Yeah,
if you're like, wine's not really my thing, that's okay. They've got other options. Just
they
going out
do.
there, sitting on the patio, enjoying a cool beverage. I mean, today was one of the most beautiful spring
Oh my
days.
goodness, so
Oh, I was
gorgeous.
out at an
Yeah.
open house, holding a house
Oh,
open in Eastmoreland, a beautiful Tudor. I was so happy. I love those old
yeah.
homes. But I was
Oh,
thinking what would make it better, I should have brought wine to offer people at the
yeah,
open house. So tomorrow's open
on
house,
the
I'll be bringing
patio.
a couple
There you go.
bottles and just
Yes.
little sips. I'll take some Sokol
Yeah.
Blosser out to them
Oh,
and
we
say, "You
love
should
it.
pop
Yes.
in."
Yeah, send them back. Don't remind me. I'll get you some buy one get one tastings to hand out to your people. Like we'll collaborate.
I'll put you in my
Yeah,
newsletter.
perfect. Yay. Yeah, no, it just we just love sharing. And again, I think a lot of Oregon wineries are like this too. But
Yeah.
we've really also noticed in a lot of some of the younger generation too is a lot more families want to
Yeah.
come visit.
Mhm.
I think that I can say for like some of my generation and whatnot, like oftentimes our escape was like, oh, grandma's watching the kids, we're
Yep.
gonna go wine tasting. And it's a lot more families now. Like they
Yeah.
come to our club parties, they come to tastings, and we love it. Like we
Yeah.
have a kid closet prepared, like we have things for the kids, little fun tic-tac-toe games and snacks. And like it's so like you said, it's for everyone.
Yeah.
It's for everyone, whether it's your first wine tasting experience, whether you've tasted all over the world, just come out, also your dogs. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, most of our team, if you've been with us more than once, will know your dog's name. Like, that's very important to the team.
Oh,
So,
I love that.
like kids and dogs will remember names and we love them all. But again, it's just, creating that welcoming, you're part of the family when you walk through those doors.
Yeah.
At the end of
Come
the
out,
day, that's what
have some
matters.
lunch, drink some
Yeah.
wine, let the kids
Yeah.
play,
Yeah.
bring grandma,
Yeah.
load the car,
It
like, get your neighbor.
100%. Bring 3 generations. Bring them
It's
on
a
out,
it's a whole
right?
vibe out there, and they throw amazing
Exactly.
parties. The last
Oh,
one they
boy.
threw was at the old, it was at an amazing, iconic spot in Portland that just brought back a wave of nostalgia for me because the Brasserie in Portland was a place I went for decades. And
Yeah.
your party was in the space where the Brasserie was. And,
Yeah.
I was just like the whole time I was there, I was just smiling and thinking, "I have been to this place no less than 100 times." Like,
Yeah.
I would go
Right?
all
We
the
had
time
quite a
with
few people that
friends.
had that same experience that were like,
Yeah, it
"I
was.
haven't been here in so long, but man, I've got some stories,"
Oh,
and
yeah, it
just
brought back
yeah.
great memories and
Yeah.
just I don't know, I spent a lot of time at a lot of cool places in Portland. I am very blessed that I have had a life where I've gotten to do a lot of things and experienced
Yeah.
a lot of things. And just being when we pulled up and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't look
It's here.
ahead to where it was." I'm like and I was telling the person I was with, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I've been to this place so many times when it was this." And she probably was tired of hearing me say that, but
Oh, I
it
love
truly
that.
was like so it was mingling of experiences that just kind of it
Mhm.
all blended together, and now I'm just, like,
Old
all
and
warm and
new
fuzzy about
and
it. Mhm.
yeah.
And you had
And
amazing little
that's
snacks
thank you, and
and
that's
the
what
wine.
we do our club parties, and then in spring, we do one in Portland because we have a lot of people that,
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard with kids and life and work and everything to make it all the way out to the winery, so we do one in Portland, and then in fall, we actually take the team to Seattle, and we do a Seattle one too to
Oh,
hit those, people up there, and so, again, those are investments we make as a company because
slip
it's
me that
important to us
date.
to
I'll
we
I'll
will, to
nudge
connect.
I'll nudge
Yeah,
'cause,
we'll nudge
I
some
love a
Seattle
Seattle
people.
trip.
Yeah, yeah,
And
and I'll
Seattle has
hit you
some
up if
great wine
some good
country over
some
on the other
yes, and
side of
some
the
beautiful
water there.
venues.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we just, I love merging, you know, previous stories and memories with making new ones,
Yeah.
right? And I think that a legacy can do that.
It absolutely can. Well, I know we're a little past an hour, but that's okay. We'll go a few more minutes. But we're getting close to wrapping up, and I've got a few more questions. But
Okay.
you're we're rounding out. This won't go live until after Women's History Month is done. But Sokol Blosser um, has a lot of ladies working for him. Somewhere I read, I think it was like 80% of the staff
Yeah, yep,
is
we have a
female,
very
and that is, you've got an executive team that is 80% female. I found my notes here.
oh,
And
thank you, that is correct,
yeah,
yes.
female winemaker. So Sokol Blosser is shaping the future of women in the wine industry, right? And I know that the wine industry historically wasn't I think if you go back long long time ago when wine started wherever you were at, you probably didn't have a lot of female winemakers, but we do now. And Sokol Blosser is leading the charge with that. If you uh, had someone in front of you, a young woman, and what kind of advice would you give her? Just looking at the career trajectory you've had and now being in the wine scene and, you know, looking at that path that you took, how could they break into the wine scene earlier? Something that you mentioned that you wish you had done it before. Like, if
Yeah,
I could do a do-over, that would have been it, right? What
yeah.
would be some advice you might give that young person standing in front of you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're right. I think the beverage industry, right, has been a fairly dominant male industry for a long
Yeah.
time, um, but then at the same time, I think of Susan Sokol Blosser
Mhm.
leading the way from
Way
I mean, what a
back.
legacy,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of other, strong women around her
54
in
years
that
ago.
generation. Amazing. And, she started that and propelled it. And, for me, and I think, other young, inspiring entrepreneurs or leadership, women in leadership, all of that is just be authentically yourself. I think we've all, uh, many of us have gotten to this stage in our career have had to really adapt and compromise and compromise parts of themselves and what makes them happy in their thriving zone. And I think when we can truly unleash our superpowers and be thriving on all of those things, and you find a company that supports that. And I get that that balance can be hard, but just start off by being yourself, and if that company isn't a right fit, don't compromise.
Yeah.
There's something out there for everybody, and just know your values and what's important to you, and find one that works, right? Like, look at what's their brand, what's their voice, what are their values, and find one that aligns, because that's going to unleash everything within you to be the best, employee, leader, human that you can be, you
Amen
know?
to that.
And whoever you are in life, it's life is too short. Just be your most authentic self,
Yeah.
you know?
Don't be
Yeah.
afraid to take that chance either. I did a
Oh,
lot of
just
things because it was safe
mhm.
and because that guaranteed paycheck, all of the reasons, and they're valid reasons, right? I compromised a lot of my authenticity just to get that
Mhm.
paycheck, but it does slowly kind of kill you inside.
It does,
Yeah,
right?
it
It
really
fuels that
does.
burnout.
And you
It
don't realize how unhappy you are until you're like you've
Mhm.
hit that like wall and you're like, "Oh gosh, like something's going to happen here." um,
Exactly, exactly. And I think that
be
sometimes it's
authentic,
hard.
but don't be afraid.
Yeah. Take chances, right?
Yeah.
Take
You can
take the
always change your
educated
mind to do something
chances.
different.
Exactly. Like, and it's okay to think, you know, well, I'm starting over and I don't have a background in this. Like, that's okay. If you come with all of these other skills and
Mhm.
attributes, there's so many things that are transferable in just
Yeah.
about any industry, and I think that a lot of companies are looking for that.
Yeah.
The right companies are
Yeah.
looking for that, right? They don't necessarily need you to be, the best in the industry. They just need you to be the best for the company,
Yeah.
and being true to who you are is gonna be part of that,
Yeah.
So I think that that's just
Authenticity.
just important. Mhm.
Authenticity. You want good
Yeah.
authentic wines, you want good authentic people. When you combine the two, we could rule the world.
That's right.
So,
We're
Sarah,
working
if
on
you
it.
were hosting a dinner party um tonight, what bottle are you pouring?
Oh, boy. That is always the toughest question anyone
I
asks me.
know. It's like choosing your favorite
Oh,
child.
man. Oh, it is. Well, and honestly, right, it's no straight answer, because it definitely is, who are these humans,
Yeah.
right? Like, what do they enjoy? And what are we having, right? What are we
Okay.
eating, right? That's all part
Yeah.
of it. But I would say my
If you were
standard
pouring for
go-to, at least
yourself tonight,
just
maybe.
oh, definitely some sparkling. Our sparkling
Okay.
game is
Oh, it's
like next level.
you guys are killing
I
it
mean,
in the
again,
sparkling game.
all the
Yeah.
wine is phenomenal, but I will always gravitate to sparkling, and that's typically where I'll start too,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna lie, I'm the type of host that's like, I have a sparkling, I have a white, I have a rosé, and I have some Pinot. Let's just
I love
choose your
that.
own adventure?
Okay, so that's a
So,
great answer.
yeah.
It's a choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a little
Choose
bit
your
of
own adventure.
everything.
That's
Well,
right.
and as the
Yeah, but
evening
our
progresses, you know?
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
and, I mean, our rosé is always probably a go-to for me for a long time, any season. But again, our pinots, right? We have pinots from all different soil profiles and flavor profiles that
So good.
kind of blew my mind when I first started in the industry. I'm like, how can that many taste so different?
And
And
they
yet
do.
they do. And
And they're
so
so good.
it's I think the adventure is finding what people
Yeah.
enjoy. And I'm like,
And that
oh, you
can
don't like
change
that
from
one?
day
Let's
to
try this
day.
one. 100%.
Yep.
Yep, exactly.
I love
So,
that.
yeah.
That's amazing. So I know you can find Sokol Blosser in a lot of places. They have their website, Instagram,
Mhm.
Facebook. I think you even have a YouTube channel that I stumbled on.
We do.
Yeah. So what's the Instagram handle? Do you know
Oh
it off the
gosh,
top?
you're
I think
just
it's Sokol
throwing
Blosser.
me.
I
I
think
think
it's
it's
just
just
as
Sokol
simple.
Blosser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you
And
just
then we
type
have
in
Evolution
Sokol Blosser,
Wines.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep, they've
But
got both.
if you want to connect with Sokol Blosser, anyone listening wants to connect, I will have all the ways to connect with them in the show notes on YouTube. on my social media. If you can't find it still, Google my name. My phone number is everywhere on the internet. Like, I can't hide. Just text me. I'll send you their address and their hours
Mhm.
and their phone number. I'll give you all the
Give 'em
deets.
my
So,
email, we'll get
nah.
'em in.
I'll vet them before I just throw
I'll
all
make
that out.
friends.
Right, right. Sarah, thank you so much for joining me
Thank you.
today and sharing your story and the story of Sokol Blosser. I want to meet Susan and Phil
Yes.
and um
Yeah, we
it's
can
just
make that
made me want
happen.
to know them
Yeah.
now because, it's just legacy. It's
Yeah,
legacy in
it's
Oregon. So,
they're ama and they wanna be still involved and,
yeah.
Susan will come up for some happy hours, so I'll make sure to contact you any happy hours she's part of, and,
Yeah, that would be
Bill
wonderful. See if
Bill
we
kind
can
of ping
head out.
pongs between California and stuff, but
Yeah.
around harvest time, he's usually up here,
Okay.
so
Looking
keep
forward to
keep
fall.
watching the Instagram, and we'll make sure we're putting it out there when people
Okay.
can come, find the
I think
family,
that would
so
I would love to shake their hands and thank them
yeah,
for all that they
yeah,
started and helped to start here in Oregon.
yeah,
But it
we'd
has
love
been
that.
such a pleasure hearing about the legacy, the incredible work that you all are doing out there in Dundee. For everyone listening again, if you haven't made it out to Sokol Blosser lately, consider this your sign. Especially spring is here, summer. It's a beautiful place going into fall with the leaves. Go soak in those views and enjoy a glass of some of the best wine our region has to offer. To the listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Keys to the PNW. If you enjoyed this conversation, please make sure to subscribe, leave a review, share this episode with a friend who loves a good local story and maybe a great glass of wine. And stay curious, stay local, and we'll see you the next time as we continue to unlock the stories that make the upper left the only place to be.